Hello and welcome to our release webinar 2.13 and 2.14. So today we are presenting, or in the room, or our xServer team is Isabel Honekel, that's product management, Daniel Mervis and Lisa Marie Meister.
Hello.
We also have in our separate room colleagues which will take care of your questions. If you have any, just type them in the chat and they will take care. If there are questions concerning the whole round of participants, we will then broadcast them, or we will then handle them afterwards. So that's our team. Unfortunately, Isabel cannot be here today, so it's just the two of us, me, Daniel, and Lisa.
Yep.
Our agenda for today is just a few general points. In geocoding, we did progress, or we made progress in the single field search. In routing, we have a great new feature with the driver's logbook, which is also integrated in trip planning in the first step. And at the end, we'd like to give you a status of the xServer internet deployment and some notes in maps and content. So let's start with our first topics. That's general xServer topics, like our change responsibilities in the team. As you might have seen in our introduction slide, Steffen Kieseker is no longer part of the xServer PM team. He is now PM for a new PTV product, which will presumably launch next year. And Lisa joined our team and has also some xServer responsibilities in addition to her data responsibilities.
Yeah, exactly.
And second thing is we stabilized many parts of our xServer 2 API. That's over a dozen different parts of the API we stabilized. For example, the guided navigation part in xRoute, the whole pre-combined trips and trip planning, including vehicle IDs and alternative depots, which you can now use in pre-combined trips, our tour proposal methods, and the whole xRoute REST API. But that's just a few samples. In detail, you can look in the release notes what we actually stabilized. Now, let's go into our feature part. Our first feature.
Okay, so for geocoding, we did some improvements in a single field search. Now we can search interpolated addresses. We also increased our quality when you search for like just a city name or just a part of a postal code. And we've increased for the 2.14 release the fault tolerance by having spelling mistakes in your search.
Yeah.
I would like to demonstrate that. So we switch to xServer. And first, I would like to show you the search for only a city name. So if you would type in Harrow, then you'll see you only get the Harrow spec, and we search for an Harrow in England. The next thing I would like to show you the
and you said that's based on locality, so that's just a city name.
Exactly. That's why the
we have
city score is 100, so we have a perfect match in that. And if we would search for like only a postal code like search, you would type HA3, which is the postal code for Harrow, and you get all the parts of Harrow back. So you see there is maybe with arrow.
Yeah.
The next thing I said, we can now search for interpolated addresses. However, I just wanted to show you the exact address so we can show you afterwards how the interpolation works. It's West Drive 63. In HA 36 Harrow. So there is that's an exact address. And if we would, if you can see the street is not stopping on that house number, it's just like that there is a few more house number which not belongs to our index, and that's why we interpolate the missing house numbers. So if you would search for West Drive 65, you get an interpolated address back, which is known from our address points. And you can also see it there exactly. If you would have made a spelling mistake, you would also be able to find that address. So the fault tolerance is only possible to, or can only be applied for words longer than 3 letters, and then you can make 1 mistake per word. So you see, we have a spelling mistake in the street name and a spelling mistake in the city name, and we are able to find the address.
Yeah, we still get the correct result, even though the scoring reduced a bit.
Exactly. So another improvement was that we are able to search for long postal codes. So if you would type in, or if you can open that back again, you see that the long postal code for that address would be H836TX. And if we search only for that, TX, we get a list of addresses back which belong to that long postal code. That's an English special thing because English long postal codes refer primarily to street segments, and for this reason we get a lot of responses back. But as you can see, the house number we searched before is included. If you would check long postal codes for Ireland, for example, Grafton Street 118 in Dublin, which has DO2, X588.
There's a hash in between.
You only get a special or an exact address. So in Ireland, for each address, there is 1 long postal code which can be used for single field search in the new xServer release. Exactly. Yeah, that's it from geocoding news, and I would like to hand over to Daniel Beck for the news on routing.
Great, thank you. In routing, we worked the last 2 releases on integrating driving time regulations. One part, the European driving time regulation, and now also available is the American hours of service. We use those time calculation rule sets to provide a driver's logbook, so and calculate a time scheme along a route, or we also use it in trip planning. To give you an impression how that might look like, I go over to Showcase, There I calculate a route from Napoli, Italy to Amsterdam, Netherlands. And as you see, the route takes 1 day and almost another full hour only driving time. And you can calculate that, that's fine. But usually in practice, that's not applicable because the driver needs to take some rest and breaks, and even needs to take some daily rests. So what we need to do is first, we can now calculate the time scheme for that. So we switch on the European driving time regulation over multiple days, and now you see the breaks get scheduled and also daily rests get scheduled. We have a break after 4 hours 30 minutes for 45 minutes, and the daily rest will be 11 hours after 8 hours driving time, 9 hours driving time. And so on and so forth until we reach our goal. So now that's fine if you have the rule set and you can calculate onwards from point 0. But what if our driver starts not fully rested? He already drove 2 hours the first day to his starting point. So that's easy. So if he already drove 2 hours at the beginning, you can take that into respect with the driver's logbook. So you can provide a logbook in the request, and now you see the first break is scheduled 2 hours 30 minutes into our actual routing to Amsterdam, and the following breaks and rests accordingly until you reach your goal. You can do the same in North America, taking the North American hours of service into respect. Either there are some special rules with 30 minutes break and a 34-hour restart, and also a weekly duty cycle for 7 days and 60 hours or 8 days and 70 hours. We can already take that into respect. That is applicable when you route in North America. So that's the driver's logbook, available in xRoute in its full extent. In its full extent means like I showed you. And when I then go further, we implemented a new feature in xTour that should cover the use case trips in execution or a tour in execution. The use case behind that is you have your tour planned, your trips planned. Now the vehicles are on the road and you want to have a correct and up-to-date time scheme for now, for the actual time, which may derive from whatever you planned previously. And what you need for that is what I just showed you. You need the break and rest rules and the driving regularities for Europe and also for North America. What we implemented in xTour right now is you can use that for 1 day. We're working on multiple days right now, but let's show you how this feature could work in xTour. So that might be a trip you've planned. In the middle, you have your depots, and the black points are your customer sites you want to visit. One after another, you already have planned that. Let's just refresh this use case. And you see you have your tour start, you have your driving at the first stop, you have its service, driving service, driving service. And now there's no problem because you started at 12 p.m., so that's noon, and you finished your trip 7:30. And this trip also consists of more than an hour service time, so you don't have to apply any break and rest rules right now, in Europe at least. But first of all, you want to have your actual status. So let's see, the stop over there, that's the 7th stop. And yes, I counted through the table previously. That's the row 15. So your plan, according to your plan, you should reach the this stop at 14:27. That's 2:30, and you should depart 14:37. So now, what happens if your driver gives a status? He's at this point, and that's 2 p.m. and that's 2, for example, 50, because he is not quite in schedule. There's was traffic on the way. Maybe he exceeded his service time, and now he just arrived. He didn't leave, but he just arrived. So he still has to perform his service. Now he gets his status. I arrived at 2:50 p.m. Evaluate trips in execution, my trip in execution. Now you see the previous trip part is grayed out. That's no longer in our perspective. And now the time scheme is recalculated from this point. He reached the point. He still has to do the service. That's 10 minutes at that point. And after that, he just leaves at 3 p.m. when he doesn't get an updated status, but we can do that afterwards. And what you see, the whole time scheme is is recalculated until the end of tours. So you know what your new recalculated finishing time is when you will expect the driver back in the depot. And what you can also do is you can give not only this status, you can also say the service is completed and I performed a service not for 10 minutes, but maybe he was a bit slower. 10 minutes would be 600 seconds. When he would take 900 seconds, he would leave at 4:50. So that's all fine. And what you even can do is you can specify that at the beginning of the planning horizon, the driver wasn't fully rested even. So for now, that's in seconds. So let's say he was also be on the road for 2 hours previous to that. Whatever, that's 15. And if you recalculate that, now he should take into respect the break and rest rules, and he also has to schedule a break to the remaining trip, because he runs into more than 4 hours 30 minutes driving time. Great, let's get back. That's what I wanted to show you for trip planning, and that's all feature-wise we had to show you in our xServer 13 and 2.13, 2.14. And now let's give you a state of what is actually deployed on xServer Internet. We presented our features in 2.13, 2.14, and what you see is the 2.14.1 is already deployed in xServer Internet API version 2. Along with the World City Map 2020.1h, that's the here map, the world map, both in testing and on integration. So you can test it, and it's on a on production even. So it's in test and on the test environment and also on the productive environment. already deployed. And in API version 1 deployment, we updated our North America map and our Australia map to the 2020.1H map, and the latest, and it's running on the latest 1.28.2. And the World City Map, Europe City Map 2.19.2, that's the TomTom maps. The updates will be scheduled as soon as the maps will be available. More to that now. When will the maps be available?
Okay, yeah, our last topic is an update with respect to maps and content. We've added maps and content topic to this webinar as a replacement for the maps and content product afternoon, which many of you might know from past. As Daniel said before, we just internally released the PTV World City Map 2021H, including standard maps for all continents. As from now, we're only providing world maps, which includes continent maps, and therefore please note that names of continent maps change from release year to respective map versions.
So it's 2020.1 and not only
exactly.
year.
Before we had for example, PTV Arabia map 2019, and now it will be the PTV Arabia map 2020.1H, because it was released in 2019, but it's called like the respective.
So now it's more intuitive, and you can also relate it to the according world map.
Yeah, world maps are only available on xServer Internet. However, proceed as normal. Continent maps can be used with any other PTV product. Our next release will be the PTV World City Map Premium 2021T, so the respective TomTom map, including new Europe and Africa content. So if any of you were facing issues with missing street in African countries, this map can be used as a replacement map for Africa because it was improved additionally. Coming to toll updates, we're currently focusing on completing Europe toll systems, and therefore we released updates and initial toll for Poland, Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, and Belarus until end of Q3. One of our standard update will be the first German update, including new prices also for federal highways, as well as provision of historical Germany updates for calculating past prices. And for the next month, the team will focus on updating Austrian, Belgium, and Turkish toll.
So I understand you that are internal release dates, because end of Q3 is today.
Exactly. So we finished the processing, and now we are currently waiting for test results. And as soon as test results are available, we can deploy it on.
So that's almost done, ready to run.
Exactly. So Poland, Slovenia, and Croatia is available right now.
Okay.
And the other three will be available soon.
And for the deployments, you will receive an information mail for the different systems. We will update afterwards after the internal release. Okay, great. So now the really last slide, a quick sneak preview what we plan for the next release, the 2.15, which is scheduled for November this year. We plan to have even more stable API. This release is needed also for the PTV Route Optimizer ST 2020.1. So this will be the release which is this software based on. So also some stable API parts are focused on that. And feature-wise, upcoming still 2019 will be the detailed toll for Europe according to the detailed toll which is already available in North America with a new calculation mode. So it's feature layer based. It supports different payment methods, toll providers, and so on. And it will be also taken into consideration for cost optimized routing, which we will also launch and release still 2019. So that's all from our side. Thank you very much for your participation. And if there are no questions which we want to, which we can answer right now, are there any?
There are no more open questions in the chat. We will return to you with a feedback form from my perspective. And thank you very much, Lisa and Daniel, for the presentation, and also for to the POs for joining today. I would say see you in 2.15 with the next version.
Okay.
If you have questions, you can come back to us anytime.
So yes, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.